Governments around the world have spent years building laws to keep kids off adult content online. The UK's Online Safety Act, California's Digital Age Assurance Act, the US Congress's proposed Parents Decide Act, and Bill Gates himself has publicly backed the push, calling for stronger age verification on social media platforms. But there is one tool, freely available, dirt cheap, and already installed on millions of teenagers' phones, that makes almost all of it pointless. And no lawmaker has a clean answer for what to do about it. Let's jump right into it. In 2024, social psychologist Jonathan Haidt published The Anxious Generation, which examined what happened to adolescent mental health when social lives moved onto smartphones and social media in the early 2010s. Anxiety and depression surged, showing up not just in surveys but in self-harm and suicide rates, and not just in the US, but across the Anglosphere and much of Europe. Bill Gates called the book a must-read for anyone with young people in their lives, noting that Haidt makes a strong case for better age verification on social media platforms and for delaying smartphone access until kids are older. Gates even questioned whether he would have developed the habits crucial to his own success if he'd grown up with a smartphone in his pocket. By 2024, this sentiment had moved from op-eds into actual law. Age verification requirements expanded substantially with the passage of the Online Safety Act in the UK, legislation in France, laws in 8 US states, including Texas and Utah, and proposals at the national level in the US, Canada, Denmark, and the EU. The goal is simple: stop minors from accessing content, pornography, self-harm material, and certain social media platforms that researchers believe are causing real psychological harm. The mechanism is equally simple on paper: make every user prove their age before they get in. The problem is the gaping hole in the entire framework. For the last few years, a predictable cycle has played out globally. A state or country passes an age verification mandate, and VPN usage surges as users scramble to maintain access. A VPN does something deceptively simple. It routes internet traffic through a remote server, so websites see the server's location instead of the user's device. Most age verification systems are built on location-based IP checks. Change the apparent location, and you clear the check. That's it. That's the whole bypass. No ID upload, no face scan, no parental consent flow, just a different server, and the gate swings open. What makes this particularly awkward for policymakers is that VPNs are not some obscure hacker tool. They are mainstream consumer software, marketed openly, reviewed on mainstream tech sites, and available for free on the App Store and Google Play. The same apps advertised to remote workers protecting their Wi-Fi on public networks are the ones teenagers are using to walk straight through age verification walls. There is no meaningful technical barrier between the two use cases. The software doesn't know or care why you're using it. This isn't theoretical. When the UK's Online Safety Act enforcement began in July 2025, it triggered a real-world test at scale. Age verification via ID scans, facial estimation, and mobile verification triggered over 5 million checks per day, mostly on adult content sites. The immediate result was a rapid surge in VPN downloads, and crucially, it wasn't just adults reaching for them. Research from ChildNet found that while younger children were deterred by age checks, teenagers actively sought out and shared circumvention methods with each other through social media, messaging apps, and school networks. Many were downloading free VPN apps that often monetize user data and expose devices to security risks. So instead of becoming safer, those kids moved toward less moderated corners of the internet and handed their browsing data to unvetted third-party services in the process. The age check had, in effect, made things worse for a meaningful subset of the population it was designed to protect. The UK's Children's Commissioner responded by calling for VPN providers themselves to be added to the list of age-gated services. That's how far the spiral has gone, regulators trying to age-gate the tools people use to bypass age gating. Some adult websites claim compliance by geo-blocking users from regulated states. But, as the Age Verification Providers Association has noted, that's largely theater. Websites typically block based on IP address alone, and a VPN defeats that in seconds. No state law requiring age verification includes an exception for users who route through a VPN. The sites remain fully liable for failing to block minors. They're just not actually blocking them. It's compliance on paper and open access in practice. Microsoft's response has been to go further upstream than any company has gone before. Rather than leaving age verification to individual websites and apps, where VPNs can neutralize it, Microsoft has started building age verification directly into Windows itself. In March 2026, as part of a regular update rollout, Microsoft introduced an Identity Verify key in the Windows Logon UI with control flags for age verification. The feature activates when a user attempts to run a program with admin privileges, prompting ID and face scans to confirm age. The logic is straightforward. If age is verified at the operating system level during device setup, every app running on that device has access to a verified age signal without requiring the user to upload their ID to dozens of separate websites. And critically, it doesn't rely on location at all. A VPN changes where a request appears to come from. It cannot change a verified date of birth locked into an operating system account. Microsoft wasn't moving in isolation. In October 2025, California Governor Gavin Newsom signed the Digital Age Assurance Act, requiring operating system providers to collect users' age information during device setup. The bill passed both chambers unanimously and takes effect January 1st, 2027, covering Windows, macOS, Android, iOS, and Linux distributions. Colorado and New York introduced parallel legislation shortly after, with New York's bill going further by requiring manufacturers to supply a real-time age API signal to any website or app on the device. At the federal level, the Parents Decide Act, introduced in April 2026 by Representative Josh Gottheimer and Representative Elise Stefanik on a bipartisan basis, would require every operating system in the U.S. to collect a user's date of birth at setup and make it available to app developers. Rather than regulating individual apps or app stores, it targets the operating system itself, shifting compliance to Apple, Microsoft, Google, and every other OS provider. If OS-level age verification sounds like a clean solution, it isn't. The problems are real. The privacy risk is substantial. Centralized age attestation systems create high-value targets. Age verification data breaches have already hit AU1TIX in 2024, Discord/Zendesk in 2025, and Persona in 2026, and those came from the current fragmented system. A single credential store of verified ages and dates of birth built into every Windows device raises the stakes considerably. The technical design is still unresolved. A raw date of birth transmitted in the clear is the worst privacy outcome. Age brackets are better. Zero-knowledge attestations, cryptographic tokens that confirm age is over 18 without ever exposing the actual date of birth, are technically superior and referenced in European policy discussions. But implementing them at scale requires shared standards and cryptographic infrastructure that don't yet exist in any of the current US legislative drafts. Microsoft's own implementation has shown cracks. At the default security level, early versions of the Windows age verification feature could be fooled by a generated ID or photograph. The task manager also offered a path to admin privileges that bypassed the check entirely. For a system designed to stop motivated teenagers, that's a meaningful vulnerability. The legal landscape is fragmented. A federal judge blocked Texas's App Store age verification law in December 2025. State bills in Ohio, Kansas, South Dakota, Louisiana, and Utah have taken diverging approaches. The Supreme Court has recently engaged with adult platform age verification challenges. Companies like Microsoft are preparing for compliance while the legal ground is still shifting underneath them. There's a more humbling reality underneath all the policy debate. Determined teenagers are resourceful, and the workarounds keep evolving. In the UK, young people responded to Online Safety Act checks by using AI-generated fake passports, borrowed accounts, and exploiting the error rates of facial recognition systems, repeatedly submitting failed checks until the system made a mistake. Beyond the UK, Australia's social media age restrictions, which took effect in December 2025 for platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat, prompted similar creativity almost immediately. The pattern is consistent across every jurisdiction that has tried to enforce age checks, tighten one entry point, and kids find another. The technology for generating convincing fake IDs has also become dramatically more accessible. What once required technical skill now takes minutes with a consumer AI tool, which means the arms race between verification systems and bypass methods is accelerating, not stabilizing. But here's where it's worth slowing down, because the picture is more nuanced than teenagers always win. Only 7% of children in UK surveys reported using VPNs to bypass restrictions, suggesting simpler, lower-effort tactics remain the preferred route. Which is actually an important context. Most kids are not setting up VPNs and generating AI passports. Most are just lying about their birthday on a form with no verification attached. That distinction matters enormously for how you think about the goal of age verification. The barrier doesn't need to be impenetrable. It needs to be high enough that casual access fails. Friction is not the same as failure. The more sophisticated attacks, AI-generated documents, facial recognition exploits, and VPN tunneling represent a small and technically motivated minority. A policy that tries to stop that minority completely will inevitably impose costs on everyone else in the form of invasive data collection, biometric scanning, and privacy exposure. The better benchmark is whether age verification reduces harm at the population level, not whether it stops every single determined user. And here, the evidence is more encouraging than the headlines suggest. Data from late 2025 showed no meaningful spike in first-time VPN use among UK children following the rollout of age checks under the Online Safety Act. The evidence suggests that effective age assurance does change behavior rather than simply redirect it, at least for the majority of users who aren't actively looking for workarounds. The question is whether OS-level verification, done properly, can hold up against the minority who are, and whether the privacy cost of trying as one society is actually willing to pay. VPNs are the single most available, most used, and least discussed threat to age verification as it currently exists. Every system built on location-based IP checks is vulnerable to a tool that costs a few dollars a month and takes minutes to set up. Microsoft's move to embed age verification into Windows itself, alongside California's Digital Age Assurance Act and the Federal Parents Decide Act, is the most architecturally coherent response to that problem yet. Move verification upstream to the device before location even factors in. But the implementation has to be right. Privacy-preserving by design, cryptographically robust, resistant to AI-generated fakes, and consistent enough across jurisdictions that companies aren't shipping 10 different versions of Windows for 10 different regulatory regimes. Bill Gates has been consistent. He believes smartphones and social media are genuinely harmful to children, and he wants the technology industry to build real barriers, not ones a teenager can clear in 30 seconds. His company is now building the infrastructure to make that possible. Whether it actually works is still an open question, but it's the right question to be asking. Subscribe for more deep dives into Microsoft, Bill Gates, and the technology shaping how we live and work. Drop a comment on whether you think OS-level age verification is the right move, or if it goes too far.